everyone, I am here with Nova today, and we are going to start a fun trick that I like to call the elephant trick. And I mainly call it that because back in the old days when the elephants were in the circus, you used to see this all the time where they would put their front feet on a stool just the size of their foot and they would turn around it. So that's what we're going to teach Nova today, and this is the first time she's done it. The only thing that you need is something for them to stand on, and it does help if they know the paws up trick already, which you can see Nova's already practiced the paws up trick. So we have a little stool here. I find if it's something a little round, that's easier, but you can practice this even on a book. You just want to make sure whatever you're practicing on, they have good footing. So what we're going to do is, and there's a couple different positions that you can do around it, but I'm just going to reward her for turning her back feet. So one step in the beginning is perfectly fine. So I'm going to walk into her and bend the treat around me, and any little back foot, yes, is going to get a click. So we're going to do that again. Yes. Good job. And as she improves with this, I'll start giving her a word. So I actually have called this elephant in the past. With Nova, I think I'm going to use the word pivot. So as she gets better, we'll start saying pivot. I'm just bending her head around. Yes. And we just want her to keep those front feet on the stool. So we'll continue to do that. Pivot. Now a little bend. Good girl. And then we can have her come off and take a little break. Now each time I'm just going to increase my criteria and ask for more steps. So right now we're doing one step at a time. Pivot. And then yes, and then as she starts offering more, we'll click for 2 steps in that direction. Pivot. Yes, good girl, good girl. And she's keeping her feet on, which is pretty good because a lot of dogs drop their feet off quite a bit and they're clumsy in the beginning. This is definitely muscles that they haven't used, so they have to learn how to use them. And for dogs that have poor rearing coordination, they might be a little clumsy with it. Pivot. So I'm just bending, yes, around my legs so she kind of looks around. Yes, good pivot. And she's starting to offer it a little bit on herself, which is great. Pivot. Now I am walking into her quite a bit right now, but of course as I increase criteria, I'm going to start walking less and pivot. And good girl. And she moves a little bit more independently of me. Now we're showing this kind of in fast video time, but as she gets a little bit better, then I'll start teaching her the opposite direction. So usually I want to try and get a full rotation in one direction. So we pivot, and she can keep her feet up the whole time. Pivot. Yes, good girl, you're doing good. Good job. And then when she gets that full rotation on her own, then yes, good girl. Then I'll start the other direction. I start the other direction pretty quickly on this trick. Thank you. Doing a go to you, Mark. Pretty quickly on this trick, just because I don't want her to be real one-sided on it, and I want her to learn to pivot in both directions. So we're just going to try it just to see how she does, because dogs tend to be lefties and righties like us and prefer one side over the other. So I'm going to switch hands here. And she's not used to watching my right hand either, so that could be a little issue. Pivot. Some dogs are, whoops, really used to watching. So there's our first little fall. Very good. You did it good. Okay. Pivot. One down here. Let's try that again. I'm going to get on this side. Pivot. Let me just bend it just a little bit so you can tell, yes, this is a harder side for her. So it's going to take a little bit more work to build up the muscles on that side. Not a bad thing. That's totally normal. But we definitely want to reinforce that so she's strong on both sides of her body. Pivot. Good job. So with Nova, since this is her first time trying it, good girl, I'm definitely going to focus on the left-hand side with her because that's her strong side. And we always want to start with the one that's a little bit easier for her, set her up to succeed, and then we will bend to the other side. So we'll do one more pivot on this side. Yes, and see how much more natural that is, even though she's never done it before. It's just the first few seconds in here. Pivot. Yes, good girl. Good girl. Pivot. Woo-hoo-hoo. And see, I increased criteria there by not giving her the food. So I just had a blank hand. We're going to pivot again. Good job, and set her up to succeed. So that's the start of this trick. Eventually, I'm just going to be able to do a pivot, and she can walk all on her own. Yes, good girl. And see, I'm not moving a whole lot there. So eventually she'll be able to make a full rotation. As she gets one rotation, I'll increase it to usually like 2 or 3 rotations, so she's pretty good and can work independently of it. So we'll show that in future videos as she gets stronger with this. But that's a great start to this perch work or elephant or rear end coordination trick, however you want to name it. So hopefully next time we see you, Nova will be really, really strong in her back end and she can pivot this whole thing. Pivot. Yes, good girl. And there it is. Good job. Good job. High five, baby. All right, guys. Thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next trick. Here you go, kid.